I feel sad that I have to come up here and explain it. I have all this legal talent, but legal talent cannot, and I'm disappointed in my legal talent, I'll be honest with you.
Wait, hold on. He said that while they're standing right there. I mean, this might be the only time I've agreed with the dude.
With his beautiful family, I will tell you, that is not President Trump, and I completely am disgusted by what I have seen happen to this person, his family, and the Trump organization that we stand in right now.
And I'm disappointed in my legal talent, I'll be honest with you. They're good. They're good people. They're talented people.
If you watched Trump's unhinged presser today and listened carefully enough, you'd hear the sound of E.G. and Carol's team cashing yet another check, because this guy, Donald Trump, loves a defamation suit, it seems.
Now, there were two witnesses. One is a woman who's followed me for years. She said in 1979, I was in an airplane with her, commercial flight, and we became very intimate. I just sat down. I think I had the book, The Art of the Deal. I was famous then, too. I've been famous for a long time. And we're sitting in first class, according to her. Never happened, by the way. Totally made up story. She's a Clinton person, too, by the way. Big Clinton person. And I start kissing her and making out with her. What are the chances of that happening? What are the chances? And frankly, I know you're going to say it's a terrible thing to say, but it couldn't have happened. It didn't happen. And she would not have been the chosen one. She would not have been the chosen one.
That's right. Frustrated by the state of the race and his continued legal troubles, Donald Trump hastily crammed a press conference into an otherwise packed day of campaign events and court-related issues, just so he could complain to the reporters he invited inside of Trump Tower about his legal woes.
Make his life miserable. Sue him all the time. It's a scam. It's a political witch hunt. But every single one of these cases that I'm mentioning, they're all hoaxes and scams. The weaponization of justice at a level that nobody's ever seen in this country before. We've never seen it. We asked the judge, could you consolidate the cases? Same case. And he refused to do so. Judges can see a scam like this, a very corrupt system of laws. All of these cases are a disgrace. This judge refused to allow us to use that as a defense, the attorney-client defense, which is Judge Merchan. That case is a disgrace. Should have never been allowed. I mean, shockingly, they can't even believe it. They said this case should not have been allowed to be brought. Those cases say it's an embarrassment they were allowed to be brought.
For, in a hilarious moment, criticized his own legal team's performance while surrounded by his own legal team.
And I feel sad that I have to come up here and explain it. I have all this legal talent, but legal talent cannot overcome rigged judges. They can't overcome a 4% Republican area. And I'm disappointed in my legal talent, I'll be honest with you. They're good. They're good people. They're talented people. Today at the trial, they didn't mention the dress. So the Monica Lewinsky type dress was a big part of the trial. Big part of the trial. I said, why didn't you mention that? And I heard there was a dress involved. And I wasn't frightened at all because I did nothing with her. Never.
I mean, when you think back to the amount of times that Alina Habba has admitted to how terrible of a lawyer she is and how she rarely wins, can you blame the guy?
The fact is that you now have to argue the constitutionality of his own gag order in front of him, and then he tells the Trump lawyers that they're losing credibility in his courtroom. I'm sorry, this judge has no credibility.
Yeah, this is the same methodology that judges have done with me and the left-wing media. They'll run with it. They try and make attorneys on the team look or seem like they don't know what they're doing.
Winning always helps. He doesn't want anybody on his team representing him that's, going to keep failing, of course.
But I don't have hopes really that high at this moment that the New York courts will do the right thing, that the jury will do the right thing. We're in a blue state, as you know, Greg.
And also, did you catch how he claimed he would be discussing Friday's job reports, but instead only briefly mentioned the topic after speaking for around 45 minutes straight? I guess that's what happens when you center the whining around your laundry list of civil and criminal cases. It eats up the clock like time was starving.
I just go up to them, I kiss them, I grab them by the, excuse my language on national television, pussy. She said, that's a confession, even though it's not a confession to a particular instance, that the jury could appropriately understand that as him admitting it, and that when she asked him about it at his deposition, he doubled down on it. That, she says, makes the jury's verdict bulletproof.
But anyone could see that this man was clearly agitated as he discussed his appearance in court earlier Friday morning and said that he was, quote, disappointed in his legal team. His lawyers had asked a federal appeals court to overturn a $5 million verdict finding him liable for sexually assaulting and defaming E. Jean Carroll, all while ranting during a press conference where he defames her once more.
She has gone around for years saying the story. Everywhere I go, she says this story.
And while all this was going on, you may have missed that President Biden was speaking, where he offered what has to be said as one of his strongest retorts, alluding to his failings as a businessman.
I mean, I wonder whether he has any notion what a hard day's work is. I mean, all he did was lose his father's money. And then get in trouble and have to owe a lot of other people money. And then borrow a lot of money and give tax cuts to the super wealthy and end up with the largest debt any president's left behind in 4 years. He has an incredible record.
With all that being said, the weekend is not exactly off to a great start for Donald Trump or his band of crackpot lawyers.
If you win in November, can you commit to prioritizing legislation to make childcare affordable? And if so, what specific piece of legislation will you advance?
Well, I would do that, and we're sitting down. You know, I was somebody, we had Senator Marco Rubio, and my daughter Ivanka was so impactful on that issue. It's a very important issue. But I think when you talk about the kind of numbers that I'm talking about, that, because look, childcare is childcare. There's something, you have to have it. In this country, you have to have it. But when you talk about those numbers compared to the kind of numbers that I'm talking about by taxing foreign nations at levels that they're not used to, but they'll get used to it very quickly. And it's not going to stop them from doing business with us, but they'll have a very substantial tax when they send product into our country. Those numbers are so much bigger than any numbers that we're talking about, including childcare, that it's going to take care. We're going to have, I look forward to having no deficits within a fairly short period of time, coupled with the reductions that I told you about on waste and fraud and all of the other things that are going on in our country.
But today was also about Donald Trump's economic speech, and we watched a lot of it. And I would dare any of you to listen to his answer on childcare and tell me what the hell he was talking about. It was one of the more incoherent things I've ever heard. He thinks tariffs are going to pay for everything. We know that they're a tax on the consumer. But this really highlights a big problem that everyone is saying, well, Trump is so transparent and Trump's out there and that's all that matters. What matters is the content of what he's saying. And none of it is explainable. This issue, which is a big priority for people, obviously a central plank of what's going on in the Harris campaign, he doesn't have an answer besides tariffs. And J.D. Vance yesterday was talking about just have grandma and grandpa do more, that's some sort of solution for people. He's going to have energy prices, drill baby drill, even though we're producing more oil than we ever have before, leading the world, more tax cuts for the rich, and tariffs are the only way that we're going to be paying for it.
I think
to the extent that he said things that were coherent, and some of it was just sort of words randomly chosen out of a dictionary, I think. To the extent that he said anything that was coherent, it was kind of what we would expect. It was a promise of more income tax cuts, higher tariffs, which, by the way, tariffs are taxes. And if you look at the distribution of what he has proposed, most people would see more increase in taxes through tariffs than they would see tax cuts through income tax cuts. So some of that,
offset.
Yeah, it does. It more than gets wiped out. So you heard tariffs, taxes. You heard this government efficiency commission, which I think at best will probably do nothing. We've had lots of blue ribbon panels before. At worst, might help Donald Trump identify more enemies whom he can weaponize state power against. And then kind of more of the same deregulation, which he tried to do in the first term.
Love this video? Make sure you stay up to date on the latest breaking news and all things Meidas by signing up to the MeidasTouch newsletter at MeidasTouch.com/newsletter.